we've been adding salaries for our team members, but we haven't been adding any allowances to them. And there are different reasons that we might want to give an employee an allowance. So in our case, John and Jenny, who are both accountants, we give them a travel allowance and a phone allowance for various calling and so on that they do. So to do that, you come to their profile, you can see the salary, their current salary, and there's an allowance section. The other way to do this is if you go to salary history, there's an option to view the salary, and here you have allowances again. So for John, we gave him a $10,000 travel allowance, and you can specify on the allowance whether it's recurring or not. Recurring allowances mean that if it's a monthly salary that John earns every month on his payroll, he gets his 10,000. If it's not recurring, it means that only one time on the payroll that covers this period, John will receive that 10,000. You're also able to specify if this allowance is taxable or non-taxable, and if it's absent prorated or not prorated. Now, what absent prorated means is that if John is absent for 2 days of the month, an equivalent amount gets deducted from his allowance for that period. But to keep things simple, we'll say that this allowance is not taxable and it's not absent prorated. So John has a travel allowance, and he also has a phone allowance because he handles a lot of customer calling from his personal. Right, I'm gonna go ahead and save that. Jenny, who is also an accountant in the company, has the same two allowances that John has, so I'm going to make this simpler. Directly on her profile, I'm going to add the phone allowance and the travel allowance for Jenny. And yeah, now we can see that John and Jenny has those two allowances. In some cases, you might have an allowance that is not within the pre-built types that Techlify HR comes with. Now for those scenarios, you can add a custom allowance type. So let's go to Pat's profile, right? Because Pat and John are both in engineering. So let me update Pat because Pat is actually in the engineering department. And she is a software engineer. So I'll go ahead and save that. Yeah. If I go to Pat's profile, we wanted a custom allowance for Pat and John, and this is a top secret allowance. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and save. So once you add that new allowance type, you'll see that I'm able to use it here to add that allowance for Pat, and it's a $13,500 per month allowance. Go ahead and hit save, and if I go to John's profile, I can also, because John is also an engineer, we'll add the top secret. So let me search for that. Yep, you'll see it's here. And that's how we add allowances for our team members. We add custom allowances types if need be. Now what happens when you run payroll, these allowances are automatically calculated and aggregated and added into the necessary calculations that they need to be added into.